If you're watching this channel, it's because you don't enjoy watching the world squander what Christendom built, and you want to do your part. Today I'd like to mention one means of doing just that. Email made by and for Catholics. Check out Fidei Email. That's FIDEI.email. Built for Catholic individuals, families, organizations, and groups. They're private, secure, and of course Catholic. God bless.
The Vatican speaks a good game about the need to tone down political rhetoric, the need to not have ideology replace the gospel and all of this. But we see time and time again that they do that themselves. Right now, we have this talk going on in the church in Europe about consensus. And here's the thing about consensus. Aside from consensus being something democratic institutions look for, as opposed to, say, the church, which is hierarchical in nature, it was founded as a hierarchical organization by our blessed Lord himself on the Rock of Peter. When you promote consensus and then say that someone who disagrees with the direction of the church should be denied his post as, say, as the ambassador to the Vatican from the preeminent power in the secular world, it exposes all that synodal talk about consensus and listening and accompaniment and dialogue and all the rest of their nonsense as the lie that it is. And this is becoming apparent with the way bishops are talking about synodality to the secular press. There's a lot of rhetoric about toning the political atmosphere down, calming things down, and it's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. They don't believe their own words. They don't believe their own rhetoric, especially when you factor in a couple of things. In Germany, there is a conservative party that they have dubbed to be the most evil things ever. We just went through that in the U.S. Well, the signs are they're going to do really well in their next political contest, and the bishops there are interfering in that by trying to get Catholics to not support them. While they talk about synodality out the other side of their mouth and this dialogue and accompaniment and all this other nonsense. Get another example of this here. So we go here to the Info Vaticana, Spanish website, for this headline. Consensual or irrelevant church. Cobo's interview under scrutiny. Now, this is them resharing an article, but really we go to Europa Press. This is how I found this, I found it through Info Vaticana, where Europa Press gave an interview to Jose Cobo, the Archbishop of Madrid. And here he gives this nice sounding talk about dialogue and accompaniment and all the rest of it. And if I can get it to translate here, because for some reason it is not willing to translate. So let's refresh the screen. There it is. They give us this headline. Jose Cobo, Archbishop of Madrid, on polarization. In the church, we have to support consensus more than ever. Yeah, that's great. More than ever. Yes, the church is polarized, and yes, that's a bad thing. We should all be united under the gospel and under the papacy, but at present there are forces in the Vatican led by the man who the world accepts as Pope who are opposed to the actual gospel, and they promote a new religion, one that replaces the gospel with a false gospel. What the Archbishop of Madrid wants is submission to the new religion. And you see this impacting everything, including the relations the Vatican has now with, say, ideological opponents outside the Vatican, including leaders of nation states. From the article, quote, the Cardinal Archbishop of Madrid and the Vice President of the Spanish Episcopal Conference, Jose Cobo, has expressed concern about the increase in polarization in politics and society during this year, and that is coming to an end, and has pointed out that the Church has to support consensus more than ever. I believe that right now the proposal we have to make first is that politics is not an abstract idea. It is made by politicians, and politicians are good people. Politicians are people. And I believe that we have to support people so they make good politics. We have to support consensus in the church more than ever. And consensus is made with people and with sit-ins and with listenings, Cobo stressed in an interview with Europa Press. The Archbishop also stressed the need to support ethics in the midst of politics and not just ideology in general, and called, as Pope Francis says, for recovering civic kindness. This is done through people and through meetings, and if we can do it from the church, we will certainly support everything that can be done and everything that is asked of us, he said. He revealed that the church in Madrid has held meetings with politicians of different tendencies this year, with those responsible from the world of economics and with people from the world of culture, and with that vocation that the church wants to have of setting the table so that people can talk. We all owe ourselves to a reevaluation of politics, also from the fundamental values, not only from ideologies or tension, Cobo stressed, while regretting that the media, quote, sometimes spurs on this confrontation, end quote. Great. That is the talk coming from them. While there is open talk of, say, not accepting the United States as new ambassador to the Vatican because he has the wrong politics. He has the wrong ecclesiastical politics, which is really the key point here. All this talk of synodality and consensus and all this stuff is fine as long as you get with the program. That is the undeniable takeaway from what they promote. You have to get with the program. You cannot resist. You have to just submit. Submit, submit, submit. That is all this is. I'll remind you that they are building a new religion. They've said as much. The ecclesiology of the church before Vatican II is no longer compatible with the synodal church, their new synodal church, to use their own language. And we see it in public expressions of apostasy and just grotesque art displays that they put in parishes, and a lot of other talk about setting aside things the church has always taught as sin and making it more acceptable in the name of inclusion and dialogue and mercy and all the rest of this nonsense. It's one of those things that really shows how bad things are right now in the state of the church. But it won't last that way forever. Things will get better. The state of the church will get better. It has to. It can't not get better. We will see a resurgence in piety and the rest. It will come with time. And it could very well be happening right now. There is a shift in the culture in the entire West away from this acceptance of sin and this godlessness and things to at least people paying some more lip service with their mouth to Christ and the rest. And you see this manifesting in the church and increased numbers of young people, especially young men, attracted to traditional forms of worship, whether it's in the Eastern rites or the traditional mass. You see those things, and they are a sign of things changing. Will that manifest itself in the next conclave that gives us the next pope? Your guess on that one is as good as mine. I am not that hopeful about that, but I've been wrong before. So we shall see, assuming that happens this year, which I don't think it will. But their highest value in the Vatican is this synodality nonsense, which is really just a way of ensuring that their revolution in the church is never undone. Francis was promised us, as has his mouthpieces, that the purpose of Francis's papacy is to change the church forever, to make it so they can't go back. And that is the purpose of synodality and this consensus building. This consensus building is part of that decentralization of authority from bishops and the Pope and the elevating of the laity into the decision-making process. That's what this is about, consensus building. And that doesn't sound maybe too bad to people who live in a bubble and think that most Catholics accept what the church has taught on morality and things. But when you look at the actual data, we find that most Catholics reject the Catholic Church's moral authority. Which makes you wonder at what point have individual Catholics who take that position have crossed the line into actual open apostasy. Curious what you might think about this in the comments, please. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't. It certainly does help. So does sharing this on social media. That helps too. And as always, pray for the church and stay alert out there, folks. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.